How do you get a student visa, what's known as an F-1 visa, for the United States? I'm Immigration Lawyer John Kosravi. We help students, families, couples, entrepreneurs get green cards, get visas, and live their life and have success in the United States. So let's start off by what is a student visa. A student visa is the ability to come and study in a formal studying system, college or even high school or graduate school in the United States. You can't just come here on a tourist visa or other status to study. That'll be a violation, which would be problematic for your maintenance of status here or future in the United States. So the government wants you to get a particular visa category known as the F-1. Now, if you're interested in this, the first thing you should do, and you don't need a lawyer for this because they won't be able to help, is contact different schools that have the program of study that you want to have, whether it's English classes or graduate school. You got to contact the university, get accepted, and see what systems they require. A lot of times they help with the basics of setting it up. Once you're accepted to the school and you fill out their paperwork, they'll issue what's called the Form I-20. This form breaks down what the curriculum of the school is, or what you're studying, how long you're going to be there, who the school is, show that they're in the system, all that kind of stuff. Once you have the I-20 form, that's when you can start requesting a visa. Now, there's two ways you can request the F-1 status, the student status. One is if you're already in the United States in some sort of lawful status and you're changing status, and you can use Form I-539 for that. The other is if you're outside the United States, you have to go to the embassy and you complete a Form DS-160. Now, there's complications if you're doing change of status in the United States because of the delays the government has in processing these cases. Also, you got to be very careful. If you're here in the U.S., for example, on a tourist visa, some sort of temporary visa, and you quickly sign up for school and change status, the government may question whether your intent was to really come here to the U.S., for example, as a tourist, and stay. Then you decided to change your mind, as opposed to the fact that they might think that you came as a tourist, but you weren't really a tourist. You're intending to bypass the embassy system and just do change of status in the United States. So that problem pops up too when the accusations of fraud that happen there. So a lot of stuff to be mindful for. And depending on what country you're from, there's certain things you can't study. For example, if you're from Iran, they don't really want you to study nuclear science in the United States. There's all sorts of variations on this. But in general, you can do change of status in the United States with Form I-539. And there's paperwork issues because it may take even over a year for them to change status, but your existing B2 status will expire. The school semester will end, a new one start. You got to update the I-20 paperwork. So it's a major headache if you're going to do change of status in the United States. We see a lot of people fail this because of the procedural issues that are involved. You have to be very in tune and know what's going on. So preference is, if possible, if you're outside the United States, to go through the embassy system, fill out the Form DS-160, schedule an interview time with the local consulate that you're going to be interviewing with, and take the evidence that you have your I-20, your passport, and all these other documents that are related. You have to fill out the forms correctly and honestly. If there's errors, they can be problematic, and maybe they'll approve the case now, but later on when you apply for a green card or citizenship, it'll come back later and say, well, you made a mistake, or what we consider a lie in the application years ago when you got your first student visa. So you got to be very careful to make sure this paperwork is done correctly. And if the visa is issued through the embassy, you come to the United States to study, and while you're here, you have what's called duration of status. There's no exact end date, but as long as you go to school and maintaining status, then you could do it. Now, interestingly, once you graduate and you're done, you usually will be able to get 1 year at least of optical practical training, OPT. And that means you can work in the United States in the field that's related to your field of study for 1 year. And if you're in a STEM major, maybe 2 extra years. And during that time, you may get married and get a green card through marriage. You may start your own business in some format. You may have an employer that wants to file for you an H-1B visa or the like. And so there's all these options that open up for you to remain in the United States, maybe in doing what's called a national interest waiver. A lot of graduate students do that and stay in the United States. But those are the basics of the student visa. We get a lot of emails and contacts about this, so I want to do the basic overview. If you'd like to have a private consultation, contact us at jqklaw.com/contact. Fill out a short form so you know what your case is about, and we can talk about it. We primarily help people do the paperwork, especially in the United States. I'd recommend having a lawyer. But if you're going to the embassy, having at least a consultation to just be mindful of what the issues are, and to not have, which is unfortunately a lot of times, a friend or a travel agent or somebody fill out your Form DS-160. They don't pay attention to fill out properly, and either you get denied at the interview or later on they accuse you of fraud. For example, they don't list the military service you did because they didn't know and they didn't bother asking you. And then 5 years down the line, the government says, wait, you did military service, you didn't tell us there. Wait, you're divorced there, you didn't tell us there. Wait, you had this work history you didn't tell us about. And all this becomes very problematic. So our job really in those embassy cases is save you from yourself from having bad problems. But if you're doing it in the United States, I recommend having a lawyer because they made the change of status process here to a student visa so problematic and so confusing that it makes it worthwhile to have an attorney. I'm Immigration Lawyer John Kosravi. Thanks for watching this video.